Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our preview for Only Murders in the Building, Season 3, Episode 8. This is an episode titled Sits Probe. I might be saying that right. I don't know. Okay, well, here's a quick little definition because we had to look this up because,
Yeah.
we are not participants in the musical theater. I was in high school theater and I did not sing for probably obvious reasons. Now, this is a rehearsal basically where singers, orchestra members, they try to perform together. So it's basically we're leading up to opening night. Everybody wants to make sure that they sound correctly. So this is probably like the general aura, if you will, of this episode.
Yeah, and it feels like, if we get to even see a little bit of that with like the whole orchestra and everyone, I mean, there's been a lot of that throughout this season where we've had these big, musical performances, beautiful, touching,
Yeah.
fun, funny, everything with Matthew Broderick in the last one. I know you're over that song, but
Yeah.
I really like a lot of that. I mean, I'm more into the murder aspect
Yeah.
of the show, but like if you're going to be doing that all season and this is where we're going, this could be really epic to have some really big, beautiful moments and performances.
Okay, we will get into what we know about this episode, some of our theories, what is happening with the case. It's about to get a lot more complicated, everybody.
Yep.
So before we get into all of it, be sure to join our Patreon. We have a link in the description below for you to check out every single week. We have live streams over there. We are talking all about Only Murders in the
Yeah.
Building. We're bouncing off theories with you guys. It is a really fun, lively discussion. Our tinfoil hats are pretty much on through all of it.
Absolutely. Can you guys believe that we are coming up on episode 8 already? Like this season has gone by like this.
Yeah, I know.
So fast. Like I can't even believe it when we were sitting down today and we're like, all right, let's get ready for
Yeah.
our preview. Episode 8. Like
It's going too fast.
it's so fast.
I know. And okay, well, we're on the road to getting answers here, but
Yeah.
this is the synopsis for episode 8. On the day of the show's most critical rehearsal, which I think we can assume is this sits probe,
Yep.
the pressure mounts. A familiar official returns to upend the case. Loretta's complex past threatens to upend all else, and Charles must finally sing his number without losing his marbles.
Yes. And with this being such a critical rehearsal,
Yeah.
is he going to end up back in this, white room again? Like, what's going to happen with him? Is he going to be able to keep his stress under control? I mean, I really hope so. We've really gone on a journey with him for him to, end up getting fired from the show, quit from the show, left the show. Matthew Broderick comes in. Now him and Oliver are back on good terms. He's back on the show again. Can he do it?
Yes, question mark? Okay,
I believe in him. He can do it. He can do it. He'll get through it.
I have a very stunning and sad admission to make. This patter song has been stuck in my head for 2 days. I cannot get it to stop. Why did you guys do this to me? I don't even like this song. And now I'm like wandering around in my head being like, Pickwick triplets did. And I'm just like, make it stop. Make it stop.
Okay, I have a little bit of a tinfoil
Okay.
hat theory here with why this is happening with Charles. And there was some of the stuff that was going on with Joy and a lot of his stress, and now she's not there, so is he still going to be stressed? Yes. He's doing the show 8 times a week. It's
Yeah.
a lot. It's a heavy schedule. There was also that fight that happened with Loretta and Ben, and then we saw Charles punch Ben, which is really out of character for Charles. We don't know all of that missing part in the middle from like the end of that fight to Ben on stage falling over, like what happened in there.
Yeah.
I've had the theory that Ben probably went to KT, who's the stage manager, and was like, Charles just hit me in the face. What are you going to do about this? Like, this is a problem. I shouldn't be coming to work and getting, hit in my face. So, and also Loretta's yelling at me and like, what's going on? You need to sort of take care of this. I actually wonder because we also saw last season this moment where Charles was like, stay away from her kind of thing. Was he talking about Loretta? Probably. Like, I mean, it feels like that's all kind of coming together. how much does Charles kind of not know about the murder, but like has been able to kind of thread in his mind his role in what has happened with watching that fight, the punch, possibly KT coming to him afterwards being like, "Hey, you can't punch your coworkers in the face. Like
Yeah.
that's a no. Like you're out of line. Like you may not be able to stay. Like I'm going to have to talk to Oliver." Like that amount of stress that is stuff that he clearly hasn't really shared much with anyone. We saw when the trio had that fight that some of it was coming out where it was just like, what? You did what?
Yeah.
Who had a fight with what? Like a lot of it was sort of coming out. How much more is he sitting on?
I think it all could be tied to him not really wanting to come back to the musical in the first place. Like Oliver basically was like, I really need you. And he was saying, okay, you're my friend. I will come back. I will do this. But it clearly was
Please don't make me work with Matthew
no,
Broderick.
it's clearly not a healthy environment for him. And he's great at playing Brazos. But guess what? When you're Brazos, you get multiple takes. You're not having to sing. You're not having to do these sort of things, especially with you're working with somebody who you really just don't like. And
Mhm.
this punch probably is the culmination of a lot of buildup that he had saw over time with Ben, with Loretta, with Ben maybe, and some other people. I mean, we already have our tinfoil hats on here, so let's pick up on something that you sort of talked about. Because what if Ben did what you said, and he after this incident he goes and he has this conversation with KT, and we've mentioned this part of it before that they were all on stage. This is leading up to the show. I think it's fair to assume that people are kind of coming and going
Mhm.
around the halls, all around the theater. What if somebody else, like the actual killer, let's just say call them Killer X for the moment. Let's say Killer X witnesses all of this. Killer X has already sort of have been planning, I want to take out Ben at some point. I don't necessarily know when, but then in the midst of all of this, they see Ben take off to have this conversation with KT, and they're like, oh, Ben's not in his dressing room right now. There's some cookies that are in his dressing room. I'm going to go and do something to these. And they are sort of setting him up at that point when they realize this is the golden opportunity, and they're more furious at Ben than ever because of his behavior.
Yeah, because one of the parts of the synopsis is that Loretta's, complicated past is going to threaten to upend everything. And, we've been dying on the hill that she is Dickie's biological mom and
Yeah.
that he knows about it and Ben may or may not know about it. So if Dickie is someone who's obviously going to be around that night, watch that fight happen, watch, sort of,
Yeah.
Loretta getting grabbed, Charles getting, punching Ben and all that sort of things. If he knows that this is his biological mother, at that point, that might be enough motivation for Dickie to do something at the theater where he's just like, enough is enough kind of thing. Or it could be Taubert. And, I've been on the
Yeah.
Taubert Hill as well. He's the person who's the documentarian following Ben around. Who's to say he wasn't there during that fight? I think he was there during that fight. That's his job, is to
Yeah.
be in the background filming everything. So he may also know about the Loretta Dickey
Yeah.
possible connection here, that they are related, the fight that happened. It's possible that Taubert was like, I've also had enough of this. I've watched Ben just be terrible. I'm done with it.
Like, to me at this point, Loretta and Dickie, like they really have to be at the top of sort of the suspect list. And Robert Taubert, as you said, he should be somewhere on there. Like, I don't necessarily think he's the killer, but he has to have something going on that he's not telling. It's all way too convenient that he's just like this benevolent figure helping Mabel on along the way when he stood to make all this money. If the killer is someone else, like, I'm getting pretty worried about my Cliff theory just because we're so far into the season and there's not a lot of evidence right now. But if it is a Cliff, a KT, a Jonathan, or like somebody else who's working on the play,
Mhm.
this is the episode where that has to start to come out. Not where, we learn for sure, but this is where there need to be a few other clues, because you can't have it come completely out of nowhere and not even have anything that you can look back on and sort of be like, okay, well, this is why this Killer X explanation makes sense. Like, we have to start moving a little bit in that direction.
Yeah, that's been the problem with this season is that they had this huge cast of like
Yeah.
potential killers and then they haven't really used any of them and they haven't really been around. Like Katie's barely been around.
Yeah.
Cliff is really underutilized, especially after that last episode, how funny he is.
Yeah.
Like Donna's barely in it. Kimber was in the beginning a little bit and then she's just been a ghost. Like there was a lot of suspects that they've just let go, like throughout all of this, where it's just kind of like, if they bring them in last minute at this point, for me, I'm going to be disappointed where it's like, it was Donna all along. Okay, she's had like a total of 10 minutes screen time at this point. Like, stop.
Okay, so what is Oliver going to do with the information he has about Loretta? Because, I mean, now we're in a situation here where Charles is learning more and more. And I think a lot of people are going to start to figure out more things here about Loretta, and I hope the trio can come back together and really work to figure this out, because I think what Oliver needs to realize is that if he does have feelings for Loretta, and if Loretta does have feelings for them, and there's this opportunity for them to be together, they can withstand some things. It's just, in order for this case to be resolved, the truth actually needs to be figured out, and I think she will understand that when the dust settles, that there's some weirdness going on around here. They need to understand exactly what happens. And even if she is upset or offended or whatever else, that, oh, how could you think that I killed Ben? I'm not like that. Well, you've kept some other things from us. So we need to understand all of this. Like, the rubber has to meet the road here with this eventually, because if Oliver just sits on it, never asks anything, like, it's going to be worse in the long term.
Yeah, but he's got to do it,
Yes.
delicately. I mean, we saw how Charles handled it, accusing Joy of killing Ben, and I mean that ended up with, a cake in his chest. So
Yeah.
it's a hard subject to broach. And I think after this last episode where Charles, saw the scrapbook and was like, this could be nothing. Like, I don't think that it's her. I think it's given enough to Oliver that he's like, okay, you know what? Charles doesn't think that it's her. Maybe it's not her. I know he's not the best
Yeah.
at picking out whether somebody's a killer or not because he
Yeah.
didn't know Jan, but I think that does help Oliver somewhat. Now, going into this episode, the
Yeah.
other really big thing is that a familiar official is going to return to upend the case. And we know that in this last episode, Mabel put up the first podcast of the season by herself,
Yeah.
still called Only Murders in the Building, to basically be like, here's, the evidence that I have. I'm cracking the case that Greg is not the killer. They have the wrong guy. And here we go, kind of thing, which, is going to end up bringing back in Detective Williams. I mean, like, we saw somebody else at the end of it that was like, uh-oh, I guess we're reopening
Yeah.
this. It's like, no, just bring back in Williams.
Yeah, that she makes the most sense. She's got a built-in rapport.
She's awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's great. And this actress, this is a much better use of her talents than when she was on The Idol. So I'm glad you are back here with us on Only Murders. Can you sing again? Like, the best singing detective of can Detective Williams have a role in Death Battle Dazzle?
Right?
Like, I really hope this is her, and I hope that it's gonna add extra tension to the case, right? Because now the police are obviously multiple steps behind at this point. Like, they have been sitting on this Greg thing for a while, but they could make things very messy by who they come in, who they question, when they question it. I think this show is better when it's sort of a race against time to try to
Yeah.
solve the case. And I hope that this will make Mabel even realize a little bit more, okay, you're Charles and Oliver trying to extend an olive branch. I need my olds back. They can help me. They have an in within the play that I, inherently do not.
They're extending an Oliver branch.
Oh!
Listen, Oliver really needs to apologize for what he said.
He really does need to apologize for what he did. They all need a group hug. They all need to share some dips together, try to find a way to just focus on the task at hand here.
Yep, hash it out over a gut milk.
Okay. All right.
No, I think that this, I hope,
Yeah.
I know that this is like the big rehearsal and whatever, and Oliver's, focus is here. But I'm really hopeful now that the case is opened again with Mabel. They've heard the podcast, it's out there, that it's gonna pull their interest in, because they've really been like, they got the guy, it's over, like,
Yeah.
what's going on, sort of thing. But now after they listen to that
Yeah.
podcast, that they're like, oh, not over, we're in, we're very interested, we'll find a way to balance the time.
They got to have FOMO, like next level at
I
this
know,
point.
right?
It's like finding out a party has already started and like you weren't invited and you thought you were going to be invited. And what's like, well, I got to get to this party now.
Or it's like there was a party that you were invited to and then you were kicked out of the party. And then the party really started going and you were like, "Oh man, I wish I hadn't, dumped chips on the floor. I really need to come back into this party."
Go buy a new bag of chips. Do what you got to do. Get this party started.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to having a party with this episode airing. Hopefully, it lives up to all this hype we've created in our heads
I
for
know,
it.
right? No, I think it will. Like usually, 8, 9, 10,
Yeah.
it's just a roller coaster at the end.
Well, we will be here for all the ups and downs of this roller coaster. So keep checking out these videos. Join our Patreon. Our link is in the description. Live streams every week about Only Murders in the Building. Thank you so much to everyone
Thank
who's
you.
supporting us over there. We'll see you guys next time.